Hi, can I have a quick +1 in the chat if I'm visible as well as equally audible? Sorry for the last time. Hi, can I have a quick +1? Okay, so I'm perfectly visible as well as perfectly audible. Okay, so let's start. So I am Siddharth Hazra, mentor at Geeks for Geeks. I am 5-star rated coder at CodeChef, expert at Code Forces, and today we would be discussing yesterday's problem of the day. Okay. Now, yesterday's problem of the day was yes, XOR, no. Okay. Now, this is a number theory problem with a mathematical, and we would solve this problem. Okay, this problem is a medium level problem with a success percentage of around roughly 55%. Okay, so let us see the problem statement. As the view count is very less, so I assume that most of the people would watch it in the offline, not live. So I would be moving ahead little bit fast. Okay, I won't be waiting for the replies. If the viewer count get increased, I would be waiting. Okay, so let's start. We are given two arrays A and B, each of size n, where each element ai and bj are distinct. Now let's consider an integer x is the count of all different pairs of ai and bj such that the XOR of ai XOR bj is present in any of the two arrays. Okay, what I am trying to tell is, suppose a is equals to a1, a2, a3, a4 and a5 itself. Okay, and b equals to b1, b2, b3, b4 and b5 itself. Good to go. So what we are telling is, suppose at any point b dash I count the all different pairs of bi and ai and bj such that the XOR of ai and bj is present in any of the two arrays. Very good evening, Ankita. Okay, so suppose we do a XOR of a1 and b2. Okay, we do a XOR of a1 XOR b2, and suppose the answer is a4. Okay, and we know that a4 exists in the array a. Okay, so what we would consider, we would consider it as a valid pair. Okay, now we need to tell if the number of valid pairs, number, I would declare this is the count. Okay, count of valid pairs. Okay, if even, yes, else, no itself. Can I have a quick +1 in the chat? Because I am seeing that seven. There are seven viewers, but I don't see any chats. Okay, can we make the class little bit interactive? It would help us. Okay, good to go. We would move ahead. Okay, I seriously expect some messages on the live chat because it makes the class very boring itself. Okay, so the thing is that we would be considering all pairs and we would be saying that if the value after XORing exists in the array itself, then the answer would be yes, else the answer would be no itself. Good to go. So now we move ahead itself. Okay. So 1, 5, 7, 2, 4, 8. Okay. So what would be the pairs itself? We need to check the pairs 1, 2, 1, 4, 1, 8 and 5, 2, 5, 4 and then 5, 8 and then 7, 2, 7, 4 and then 7, 8. I won't be taking out the values of all this. because this would take a lot of time. So what I would be doing is I would be using a calculator and calculating the values for some amount. Okay, so 1 XOR 2 would give us the value 3. 3 exists? No, 3 does not exist. Okay, so 1 XOR 4, the value is 5, so it exists. Okay, MD Nehal, hello Nehal, very good evening. So 1 4 exists. So this pair exists. Okay, let us move ahead. Okay, 1 XOR 8 itself is 9. 9 does not exist. 5 XOR 2, 7. 7 exists. Okay. So let us see. Let us mark the value 7. And then let us consider 5 XOR 4. And then the value is 1 itself. Okay. 1 exists. Yeah, 1 exists. So now we would try to take out the answer itself. Okay. Because saying all those values is a kind of difficult, but no worries, as we are completing at a fast pace, I think I would be able to do it. Okay, 13 does not exist. 7 XOR 2. 7 XOR 2 exists and the answer is 5. So this would be also making a valid pair. Then 7 XOR 4, which is 3. 3 does not exist. 7 XOR 8 is 15, which does not exist. So there are around 4 pairs. Good to go. So this is the first one, 1 4, 5 2, 5 4, 7 2. Good to go. How we are taking out the values, I completely showed you. Okay. So considering this example would be a homework for you. Okay. Now we would try to discuss the logic. Okay. Whenever you try to solve a bit problem, the first thing that needs to be done is there are 2 steps. I would be writing steps, okay, for bitwise. For bitwise itself. What are the 2 main important steps? Suppose you got a question of bitwise operator, how would you try to solve it? The first thing which you would try to do is convert decimal to binary. The first thing which you should do, okay? And the second thing is that suppose in the question it is told that and, XOR, not, anything which is to be done, like XOR and anything, mostly it comes with XOR only, because and does not have this. Get, consider the properties. Take help of all the properties of the particular thing. It is like this. Suppose we are told that we need to solve a question of graphs. The first thing what we do, we try to memorize what are all things we learned. For all pair distance we use the for all pair distance we use something. For weighted graphs we use something. For single shortest path unweighted graphs we use something. So that something we give BFS, DFX, Jaksha, Bellman Ford, Flood Warshall for all pairs. It's all things we keep. So in the same way, when you solve bitwise question, you should do the same. So in this question, now I would be telling you how to solve with respect to this question. But you need to apply all these steps on your personal things, okay? Not personal things, other questions also. So here we need to handle the XOR thing, okay? So at first, what we would do is, we would consider all the properties of XOR, okay? All the properties of XOR we should write down, convert everything decimal to binary, okay? Now, till this point, these two are done. Consider these two as done, okay? Now we would move forward. Okay. Now the first approach we should try is the brute force one. But brute force one clearly won't be feasible. Why so? Because A1, A2 and A3 and then B1, B2 and B3. So we are considering this element and going this element, this element, this element. Okay. And then we are again considering this element and again we are going this element, this element, this element. Again we are doing the same thing. Okay. Now the thing is that for each element we are iterating on other. So for each element we are doing a n iterations for each element. So what we are doing is I'm trying to tell you for loop I equals to 0, I is less than n and then I plus plus. So what you can do is again for loop j is equals to 0, j is less than n and then j plus plus. And now you would keep all the values in the set itself. So what you would do is if a dash I XOR a dash j exist in the set, you would be adding plus 1 itself. But this would give you a TLE. Why this would give you a TLE? Because for every element we are considering all the other element. So for n elements we would do n square, that would be n into n itself. So the values would be big O of n square, which is not feasible enough. Why it is not feasible enough? Because why it is not feasible? Now the question comes, why it is not feasible? Why it would give me a TLE verdict? Why it would give me a TLE verdict? Many people after this point also many people don't know this. So in 1 second in online compiler we can do 10 to the power 8 operations. Okay. So 10 to the power 5 we take the upper bound because the question setter might have at least one test case that would test your solution for the upper bound. So 10 to the power 5 multiplied with 10 to the power 5 because it is a n square approach. So that would be as the basis of same we will be 10 to the power 10. 10 to the power 10 is greater than 10 to the power 8. So we would be getting a TLE approach. Okay. We would get a TLE. Moving forward. So we can't implement this. So if we can't implement this, what can we do? We would take the help of the properties now. Okay. Now we would first try with the normal things. Okay. So what I did was, now I am telling you what all thoughts crossed in my mind while I did the first operation. Which is the first step? First step, I converted every decimal to binary itself. So what I first thought was, I thought a complex solution. Why I thought a complex solution? I thought then I would keep all the values. I would keep all the values in the try itself. And now what I would do is, I would search for that value itself. Okay, and that would be not enough itself, but I wasn't able to implement that. Why so? Because I knew that it was being overcomplicated. Okay, I knew that there might exist some trick. So what I considered was, I considered going to the properties of XOR. What are the properties of XOR? The properties of XOR are like identity property. What is identity property? One XOR x is equals to x itself. It is the identity property normally which we do. And what is the truth table of XOR? Same 0 and different 1. I think that would be 0. I think it would be 0. 0 XOR 0 is equals to x itself. Let me search it. Why I am searching it? Because it might be the case that I am passing wrong information to you. XOR identity. मैं भी भूल जाता हूँ भाई, मैं भी इंसान हूँ. XOR identity property. What is XOR identity? A XOR 0 is equal to A. Yeah. After writing, this crossed my mind. Yeah. So I wrote wrongly. I'm extremely sorry. I can't help it. I also go wrong. So zeros or anything XOR 0 is equals to that value only. Good to go. This is the identity property. Next, if we move to the other properties, there is an interesting property of A XOR B is equals to suppose C. Good to go. So now A XOR C is equals to B. Now B XOR C equals to A. This is a property. So I would be waiting for 1 minute and tell me tell me if you can frame a answer by using this property or not. Sorry for the eyes. Good to go. Tell me. Let me lower down the quality itself. Then it won't flicker, I think. Okay, leave. I will set up for tomorrow. So, can any of you, your video keeps on getting stuck? Now tell me if it is getting stuck or not. Leave. I will. Tell me now if it is getting stuck or not. Let us wait for a few seconds. Tell me now if it is getting stuck. Yeah, okay. Okay. So I've lowered down the quality. I don't think it would be stuck now. Please inform if there are any frame drops now. Okay. So moving ahead. So what can any of you use these properties to solve this question? We have deviated from the main thing. Can any of you use this property to solve this question? I would be waiting for again 1 minute because I messed up for the last moment. Okay, I would be waiting for 1 minute now. Please let me know if there are any further frame drops or not. If there are any further frame drops, I would be resolving them right away. So let us wait for 1 minute. Can you use this property to solve this? Okay, no one answered. Yeah, it is getting lowered. So we are doing a good job. Okay. So now the thing is that we need to use this property. Now how can we use this property? Now, what are even numbers? Even numbers are 0, 2, 4, 6, and 8. Good to go. Now, suppose there is a number A XOR B where C exists in the array itself. Okay. Now, suppose this is A, this is B, and suppose this is the first one, this is the second one. Now suppose that C exists. Okay. Now I would be showing you if XOR A is equals to XOR B, Dhanda Pani. What is Dhanda Pani? I would call you Dhanda Pani. Can you please spell your name if possible? Okay. So A XOR B, yeah, kind of. So the thing is that suppose A belongs from the first array, B belongs from the second array. Now C belongs, suppose the answer is there in the first array itself. So we know that now if we do B XOR C itself, B XOR C, we would get A now. Is this clear? A XOR B is equals to C. Suppose C exists in the array, then B XOR C is equals to A, which would also exist in the array. That would be the condition. Now B XOR C would exist in the array, that is array, and these two would be true. Okay. So now the thing to note here is that if A XOR B is equals to C exists, then B XOR C is equals to A will also exist. And how many pairs come? There are two pairs. Okay. Now we know that why it is given, that if it is even, tell yes, if it is odd, tell no. So we can see that if there is no pair, the answer would be 0. If there is one pair, so we know that the other kind of inverse thing would also exist. So again, we would encounter two pairs. Now, if we see another pair which is not from A, B or C, then we would know again two pairs would exist. So that would get to the value of 4. So this is the thing, that if no pairs exist, that would be 0. If pair exists, one pair exists, then other pair would also exist, that would be 2 itself. So we would never encounter an odd number of pairs. No odd number of pairs. So the answer is simply C out. Yes, it is case sensitive now. As far as I remember, it is case sensitive. Yes, it is case sensitive. So we need to write YES, and then. So am I clear? So am I clear with this approach or not? Just can I have a quick +1 in the chat? That am I clear with this approach or not? Why? The answer is simple, the logic is simple, but how can you solve bitwise question and how can you solve this kind of question? You need to make a repository of the properties of the bitwise. Okay, I personally use a GitHub. I own a in one time. So what the thing is that I personally have a GitHub repository where all the properties of XOR and or not are stored. If you want that repository, text me on LinkedIn. I would be providing you. And the thing is that if you ever came across bitwise operator, then first do the binary representation. If you are not able to come up with a solution using the binary representation, then you can refer to that repository, see all the properties, consider all the properties, consider that if a property can be used or not. Okay, so I received 2 plus 1. How will you check if A XOR B is present in the array with or not without traversing arrays? So I told you that suppose A XOR B won't exist. I would be repeating my idea. Suppose A XOR B, there is no A XOR B is equals to C, where C would exist in the array. So in that case, the value would be 0 itself. That's why I wrote that even numbers 0, 2, 4, 6 and 8. So if no pairs exist, we can 0 is also an even number. So we would be writing yes only. If one pair exists, then another pair would exist. If three pair would exist, there would be six pair itself. Because for every pair, it is like a pair of shoes itself. When you buy one pair, the second pair automatically comes. One pair of shoes, second pair would also automatically come. So what we are saying is, if we don't go to the shop, we won't be buying any shoes. So that would be an even number of shoes because that is 0 itself. If we go to buy a shoe, then we would buy only two pairs. We won't buy one pair, na? We would buy two pairs only. If we buy two pairs, 0 plus 2 is equals to 4. If we buy three pairs, the value would be 6 itself. So after whatsoever be the value of the number of pairs you buy, the final value would be even only. Same thing would occur in this case also. So we don't need to traverse only. It is like asking that how many pairs of how many shoes you have, not pairs. How many shoes you have? Is it even or odd? Absolutely, I would be having even pairs of even shoes. I won't be having odd shoes. Same thing. So am I clear with this idea or not? Can I have a quick +1 in the chat? After that, I would be turning off the session. By the way, tomorrow BOD would be a problem of the day would also be taken by me. So please do join. Try to join. Okay, good to go. Okay. So Satyam understood, Ayushi understood, Ankita understood, Akash Kumar I think understood, Dhandapani taught me only. So MD Nehal also understood. So that's all for today. Thank you and have a nice day. Tomorrow's POT would also be taken by me. Please come again tomorrow. Akash Kumar also understood. Thank you. So I would be turning off this session. So I'm not clear with this idea or not? Can I have a quick so that I would be turning off this session? Okay. One more thing. By the way, one more thing. Let me close down. Please try to comment on the video. Please, at least a +1. Why I am telling you to comment on the video? Because the YouTube algorithm goes like this, that it recommends the videos which is getting more likes and more comments. I don't usually try to say the old page that please like and share or subscribe, but the YouTube algorithm compels me to do that because my videos are getting very less views. The efforts I am putting. If you are agreeing me on this, then please do like or at least comment little bit also. That would be of damn help. Please. Thank you and have a nice day. And positive criticism is always